Call 11. The continuous process of exploitation of the environment in the space between Dniester and Prut rivers is represented by a series of archaeological cultures. The most representative Neolithic culture is the Cucuteni Tripoli culture, 6th millennium, beginning of the 3rd millennium before Christ. The name comes from the localities Cucuteni from Romania and Tripoli from Ukraine, near which the first monuments of this culture were initially found and researched. On the territory of the Republic of Moldova, more than 500 settlements belonging to the barriers of this culture were discovered, located in the north and center of the Republic, less in the south. The settlements of these tribes were built in naturally fortified places near water sources, usually rivers, reinforced with 1-3 defense trenches. These were organized according to well-established plans, with the houses placed in concentric circles, others in rectangular rows and in nests. The houses were built of reeds smeared with clay mixed with straw and chaff, being placed on the surface of the ground. The houses were large, they had an area of approximately 15 square meters, eventually exceeding 200 square meters with 1-2 levels. Their basic occupation was agriculture and animal husbandry. The land was cultivated with a plough made of animal horns and bones. Wheat, barley, oats, and millet were cultivated, and later legumes, peas, lentils, and beans. And these began to be cultivated later on. They raised large horned cattle, sheep, goats, and pigs. Most household items and work tools were made of stone and flint: axes, chisels, scythes, knives, carpers. From this period, men began to use the vertical weaving war, making clothing from vegetable fibers. One of the occupations of the people of that time was manual pottery. The vessels were shaped by hand and had different shapes and sizes. Most of them were red, being embellished with incised or painted ornaments in black, white, or red. One of the greatest achievements of this culture was metalworking. Copper, metallurgy, and native brass are developing. The spiritual life of this culture is expressed through the art of ceramic ornamentation. We meet zoomorphic and anthropomorphic images. Men sacralized animals on which they directly depended. The bull, symbol of power, and the female figures represented the cult of fertility and fecundity. Towards the end of the 3rd millennium before Christ, the Neolithic tribes were destroyed by the semi-nomadic shepherds coming from Asian side, and on their ruins a new civilization developed, the Thracians. They represented the Bronze civilization, which dates back on the 3rd millennium, the beginning of the 2nd millennium before Christ. On the territory of Moldova, 220 settlements which knew bronze were found. Their basic occupations were animal husbandry and agriculture. During this period, the plough was invented, which allowed the cultivation of much larger areas. The work tools were cast from bronze and were much more sustainable. Among the household crafts, the following are developing: the processing of textile threads, wood, bone, and stone. During this period, the process of division of labor between farmers, cattle breeders, and craftsmen began. The Bronze Age is known through several archaeological culture: ochre tombs culture, catacombs culture, and the many belted pottery culture. In the first half of millennium 1 before Christ, the area between Dniester and Prut rivers was populated by the barriers of the Thracian Hallstatt culture, who knew how to work iron. Among the northern Thracian tribes, the best known were the Ghetto-Dacians. Over 40 Getic fortresses and 100 unfortified settlements were discovered on the territory of the Republic of Moldova. the vast majority of settlements were located on the banks of the waters. The houses were built on the surface of reeds smeared with clay and covered with reeds and straw. The basic occupations were animal breeding, agriculture, and crafts. One of the localities of the Geto-Dacians, which has been researched more thoroughly, is the Getic citadel from Butuceni village. This fortification represents a great economic and cultural center. The presence of monetary hoards discovered in Larguța, Dorotskaya, and Budei villages confirms that the development of commercial relations with the neighboring tribes and with the Greek polis was happening. More than 14,000 pieces were discovered, gold stutters issued by Philip II and Alexander Macedon from the 4th century before Christ, Roman herds of silver silicae of Constantinus II, gold solids found in Criuleni locality from the 4th century before Christ, silver denarii from 2nd century before Christ from Rotunda locality. The Geto-Dacians represented the distant ancestors of Romanians. The most famous monuments in the history of Geto-Dacians date from the reign of the king Burebista and Decebal. The confrontations between the Celts and Greeks and the locals in the year 60s-55 before Christ, fought by Burebista specifically, and the wars in the years 101 and 102, and the second war in 105 and 106 fought by Decebal with the Romans greatly influenced the material and spiritual culture of the sedentary population and the migratory tribes. Following the victory of the Romanians, the process of Romanization took place, and a few centuries later the formation of the Romanian people and the Romanian language happens. As a symbol of Roman domination, a monument of imposing proportions, the Tropaeum Traiani, with a height of 39 meters and a base of 40 meters in diameter, was created in the town of Adamclisi, located in the south of Dobrogea region in Romania. This monument keeps alive the memory of the Daco-Roman confrontation and coexistence. After the withdrawal of the Romanian administration, these lands were invaded countless times by migratory tribes who influenced the ethnogenesis of the Romanians. At the beginning of the 1st-3rd century, the territory between Dnester and Prut rivers was invaded by the Sarmatian tribes. The Sarmatians were a group of Iranian tribes whose presence was attested due to the graves different from those of the natives. The richest Sarmatian finds were in Bocani and Mărăuți villages. In the 3rd and 4th century, on the territory of our country and in the neighboring countries, Ukraine and Romania, the tribe of Sântana de Mureș culture were attested. The culture of Sântana de Mureș represents the synthesis of several components: Goths, Sarmatians, the Daco-Roman populations. Their settlements were unfortified, located on a sunny shores of the waters in the shape of a chain with brothels and surface dwellings. The basic occupations were animal breeding, agriculture, and crafts. The Sântana de Mureș culture disappeared with the migration of the Huns. In the 4th, in the 6th, to the 9th centuries, among the last migrants of those lands were the Slavs. Adopting a sedentary life, the Slavs merged with the native population, taking over the same household objects made of metal, stone, and ceramics. We also distinguish the Slavic influence on the terminology of the era. In the documents of the time, the native population was called Vlachs or Volochs, a term of Germanic origin taken over by the Slavs. Towards the end of the 13th century, the invasion of the Golden Horde took place, which accelerated the formation of medieval state of Moldova towards the year 1359.